January 17th, 1873 AD, the First Battle of the Stronghold. On January 17th, 1873 AD, the Second Battle of the Modoc War took place at the First Battle of the Stronghold, where 53 Modoc warriors defeated over 400 U.S. Army soldiers, cavalrymen, and volunteers. The overconfident soldiers were easily defeated by the Modocs, who used the weather and the landscape of the lava beds to their advantage. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Wheaton was the leader of the U.S. Army who planned on attacking the Modocs by splitting his attack force into two and to flush them out of the stronghold with two cannons bringing in support fire. U.S. Cavalry Major John Greene had to dismount his soldiers and attack the stronghold on foot. They marched from the southwest of the Tule Lake with the cannons, taking the fodder route. Captain Reuben Bernard came from the east with a small force along with the pack train. Modoc Chief Captain Jack prepared for the attack. He ordered his 53 warriors to dig in and counterattack the U.S. Army when they attempted to storm the stronghold. Along with Captain Jack inside the stronghold were his trusted men Shack Nasty Jim and Scarred Face Charlie, who was in charge of the stronghold's defense. The U.S. Army began their attack on the morning of January 17th. The weather was miserable, along with a thick fog and rocky landscape, which made battle plans that Colonel Frank Wheaton initially schemed up very hard to implement. Wheaton, Greene, and Bernard's units began to surround the stronghold and made it impossible for the Modoc warriors to escape and to allow the non-combatants that were inside to flee safely. The two cannons were fired 3 times and paused for 15 minutes to not only signal the start of the battle, but to allow civilians that were inside to surrender. But the thick fog played havoc with the attackers, especially the artillery units, because they didn't resume fire after 15 minutes because they couldn't see their own troops. Major Greene ordered his troops to advance upon the stronghold, but the rocky terrain and thick fog slowed down their advance to a crawl. The Modoc warriors left the stronghold and began to fire at the soldiers from the nooks and crannies of the lava bed under the cover of the fog. Due to the rough terrain and thick fog, Colonel Wheaton abandoned his two-pronged attack upon the stronghold. He ordered Bernard's troops to join Major Greene's soldiers, but they were pinned down by the Modoc gunfire. Major Greene ordered his troops to advance upon the stronghold despite the heavy fire from the Modocs. His soldiers, after taking heavy fire and a lot of casualties, refused to leave the cover of the rocks. Greene tried to rally his soldiers by exposing himself in the open and began to slap his gloves and attempt to motivate the demoralized soldiers, but he was shot and wounded in the battle. His action in combat earned him a Medal of Honor. The fighting continued for several hours, but the U.S. Army and their volunteer support troops could not take the Modoc stronghold. The soldiers would later report that they couldn't even see the Modocs due to the hit-and-run tactics in the fog. So around 5 o'clock p.m., Colonel Wheaton ordered a general retreat. The U.S. Army suffered over 100 casualties, with 35 soldiers killed in action. The Modoc victory led to Colonel Wheaton being relieved of his command. Modoc shaman, curly-headed doctor, took credit for summoning up the thick fog, which not only protected the stronghold, but it led to the invaders' defeat. Captain Jack's victory led the U.S. Army to try and negotiate a peace treaty with the Modocs. Unfortunately, a series of meetings with the military officers would end up disastrous for both sides.